10. All set? Okay, call the order of the Planning Commission meeting of August 12, 2020. Thank you. I'll give a motion to adopt this evening's agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of the minutes from the June 24, 2020 meeting. Anybody have any corrections or want to make a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of the minutes of the July 8th, 2020 meeting. Anybody have any changes or make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 4, concept plan for Arden Center. I believe you're
Thank you.
first victim this evening.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Members of the commission, for the record, I'm Joseph Moore, 319 South Main Street. With me is Mr. Song, who is the owner of the property that we're going to discuss tonight. We're here just for a discussion, really. The intent is to seek an annexation, so I wanted to lay some groundwork with you all for the appropriateness of the request. Mr. Song is then going to describe to you what his plans are. So what I have done is I've given you a large enlargement of 3 maps. The first one is map number 5 in your comprehensive plan, which is the town of Berlin's growth areas. I have noted the property by arrow. We're on North Main Street extended, and we are on the east side of 818, and we are in growth area number 3. As you all are aware, we have to be in a growth area under the provisions of the municipal government article of the annotated code in order to request an annexation into town. We are already in growth area number 3, and I'm going to describe that for you in a few minutes. We are in the county, of course, so we go to the second map, which I have noted for you, and we have again noted the property. We are on the east side of 818, and in the county we're zone C2, which is their medium commercial zoning. We intend to have a mixed-use development consisting primarily, if not exclusively, of mixed-use residential uses. So we will be, in the event that the town considers the annexation, we will be requesting a change from the commercial zone in the county to your R4 zone, which is the zone in town that allows planned unit developments. So that would be our request. Now, I do want to mention that there is a concept which you all may have heard of, I'm sure, which is called spot zoning. We are not invalid spot zoning for a couple reasons. Number one, the property in the county, which is on the west side of 818, is their zone R2. So it is a residential zoning in the county and will remain so because nothing will be annexed on that side. And I will get into more detail with regard to a little bit about spot zoning in the first place. Spot zoning is not invalid in and of itself. It can be valid, and we believe that even though it isn't, if it were, it would still be valid. Most importantly, I think, when you go to the next page, which is map number 4, is the town of Berlin's future land use map. And you will see that our property is precisely indicated in the future land use of Berlin to be mixed use zoning, which is precisely what we are going to request. So then we go to your other handout which I have, and that's excerpts from the Berlin Comprehensive Plan. The first one defines the growth areas, and I've highlighted that, and it says the annexation areas shown on the future land use map and described herein are based on areas most likely to request annexation and area locations that best benefit the future of Berlin. On the following page, it describes growth area number 3, which is our growth area, as being the largest of the 4 growth areas that is recommended for residential development. The area would have architectural and design guidelines. The growth area number 3 will have significant impact on the continued vitality of downtown Berlin. Therefore, commercial businesses in this area should be limited. So our plan comports precisely with the growth area element of growth area 3 in your comprehensive plan. The next one is simply the growth area summary. It shows growth area 3 having 500 acres with a potential units of 1,200. And of course, that's in the entire growth area, not our property, obviously. But you see again on the right-hand side, the comprehensive plan of Berlin envisions that growth area number 3 will be developed into mixed residential use. So then we go to your transportation system on the next portion of the comprehensive plan, and it talks about our roadway system. And it refers to Maryland Route 818, which, as you all know, is Main Street. And it says those, together with 374 to 376, bisect the town and provide access to Berlin's downtown. And the classifications of roadways discussed better details the various roadways throughout the town and their intended use. So we then go to the next page, showing that Main Street, Maryland Route 818, is what they call a minor collector. The following page describes a minor collector, which allows traffic from major collectors to have access to neighborhoods and local streets. And the only minor collector in the town is possibly its most important corridor, Main Street. Main Street has many characteristics of a major connector, including access to both arterial and major collectors. Now, I will tell you that if we proceed with a notion that annexation can be considered, we would provide as part of our annexation request a traffic study showing the impact of the potential development on traffic. It is important to note that when you look at the county existing zoning, it is all C2 commercial. And as we all know, commercial uses are high trip generators. Residential uses are not, because people live there. They make 1 or 2 trips a day, either to or from work or to the grocery store, and there are not multiple turnovers that there are with regard to commercial uses. But we will have a professional traffic study made to show that we do not have any significant impact at all with regard to any trip generations on Route 818. The proposed development, as I say, would be R4 residential district, which is the only district in your town zoning code that encompasses planned unit developments, which is what this is. The circumstances, again, spot zoning is where you have a small area of zoning that is different than the area around it. as I've said, we intend to have residential zoning, which technically will connect with the west side. But even were someone to allege that this is spot zoning because it's on the east side of 818 and surrounded, which it will be by the county zoning of C2, then there are cases that already respond to that, and that is the cases like Huff versus Board of Zoning Appeals of Baltimore County, which says the zoning of a small parcel, if it is in accord and in harmony with the comprehensive plan and is done for the public good, that is to serve one or more purposes of the enabling statute, it therefore bears a substantial relationship to the public health, safety, and morals and general welfare, and is therefore valid. So we have all of the required prerequisites for requesting annexation. We comport with the comprehensive plan. Most importantly, we comport with the future land use plan in the town, and we are already in a growth area. So with that, unless you want to question me separately, I'll let Mr. Somm describe to you what he intends to put at the property, and then we'll open it up for any discussion or questions.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you very much. I tell you, I'm in a really enviable position as opposed to when I sometimes go to reviews. I'm not asking for any decision or any commission. What I really like to do is I'd like to get y'all's feedback on just a project that I think would make a lot of sense here. So I'm mainly here to listen. Joe got involved in a lot of technical type of stuff. I can talk with you about technical things, but I haven't developed this plan very far, so I'm going to talk more in general terms. First thing that I would do is I'd be extremely remiss if I didn't introduce my wife, Joni Somm. She's here with me, and both Joni and I own the property. The property's Arden Center LLC, and that's where we have Arden Center as the applicant, because that's who owns the property. We bought it, I think, around 2007, and we moved our engineering office there, which was a larger engineering office at the time, a smaller office now. Since then, we've been able to rent space to SD Coastal Trust, a local artist. We have a vet in there now. We've tucked in a few self-storage buildings in the back, and it's a good little complex right there. But what I have envisioned is elsewhere on the property, I think there's a real need for quality multifamily housing in close proximity to the center of town. So I've gone ahead and I've proposed on my large plan that we would take a portion of this property that is on the north side of the power lines. And I've gone ahead and I've laid out two multifamily buildings for ADUs. We would go ahead and have separate access from 818, so there's not going to be any cross-commercial access or anything. They'll have their own entrance. And we would go ahead and have a little circular pattern with inside, so you don't have to have any turnarounds. We can meet all the fire code requirements. We're going to have 160 parking stalls. So I've worked it out, so about 40% are going to be available in garages, and the other 60% are going to be available outside. We'll have a few amenities that we're going to be able to support with this project, and there'll be a small swimming pool, and we're going to put a dog park here. The one thing that I'm really excited about, I really hope that at some point this can come to fruition, is some connectivity between the properties that are developed. I don't need to tell you guys, you know what's happening on the intersection of 818 out at Route 50. But I'm hoping that we can work, and I'm more than willing on my property here to help facilitate connectivity. We'll put in a shared use path right on the front of our property. Our property also goes all the way back to the railroad tracks. If there's ever any opportunity to do pathways along the railroad tracks, I really would like to talk to you guys about doing something like that, because I think that type of connectivity alongside the park and getting it off the traveled roads is a real good idea. Now, that's not what I'm here to promote or solve right now, but as you guys are thinking long-range planning, if there's ever any way that we can do some connectivity, we're all for trying to do something like that. In order to have this thing go forward, the only way I could have even contemplated this is because there's provision of public water and sewer. As you may recall, I guess it was almost about 3 years ago maybe, the town actually did extend water and sewer down Main Street. And in contemplation of development on this property, they actually extended across the road a large diameter water main and a sewer lateral. So we actually have connection on the property. Now, we haven't purchased capacity or anything because we're not the town, but we actually do have connection right on the property, and we use that connection. So that kind of fostered us in the idea of, what will we do here? What is something that be, beneficial to the town, beneficial to us? Would work to complement the other uses that we have in the property, and now the other uses that are going in the neighborhood. So we've gone ahead and laid out what I think is a pretty darn good plan. We're looking at these, decent sized units. They'll be a mix. Both buildings will have an elevator. So we won't be having any walk-up flats. They're going to be flat style, so people will be on one level, but they'll all be with an elevator. Mainly what I'm here is, after telling you what I think I want to do, is I want to hear what you think we should do. So I'm hoping I'm going to get some feedback here before we spend some time to do all the things that Joe says I guess I have to do. So I'd just like to listen now.
So you want to do, PUD is 7 acres, that encompass on the other side of Kids Branch, I think, is that's the 7 whatever acres.
Yeah, it makes most sense to keep the property in that geometry like that, yes.
Like a lot of density, looks like a lot of people, man. It's a 4-story building, pretty tall building to put down there, I think. Maybe if it was 3 stories, it might be, but I think that's a lot of people in a little space.
So the density is what you're referring to.
4-story buildings, we
just can't
yeah,
know.
we just try to get rid of some of those, but I mean, that's just a huge building on the skyline over there, I just think it's a lot of people. Where are they gonna go? What are they gonna do? There's nothing to do here. You need swimming pool, that many people, we need Olympics of swimming pool, I guess, but mainly the 4-story buildings would be, I think it would be.
Well, Mr. Chandler, not to quarrel with you, but I think there's a hell of a lot to do in Berlin. It's not like going to Chrisfield or something like that. And of course, and one of the things that's in the comprehensive plan is that 818 is a connector to downtown Berlin. As you all know, I've lived here longer than anybody in this room has even been alive, and I'm now making reservations to go to the Atlantic Hotel or standing in line at Blacksmith. So and I know that's not the way you meant it, but there's plenty to do for Berlin. And by the way, I didn't get into all the detail about the projected population standards, which are for another time at the annexation, but the uses here are not exceeding the population standards that would be in this area, the growth area. But we hear you with regard to the size and height of the building, which of course relates to density. We understand that.
So I'm looking at this and I see something for the younger generation, which I'm part of, as being really necessary in this area. A lot of the apartments that we have in town are older. They're not really that great. They're not new. Housing is skyrocketing in Berlin. Most people can't afford to move to Berlin. And I know people who want to live in downtown, they enjoy downtown, but they just can't. So I look at this, and to me, it's something that I see. You have a bunch of younger people that don't want to be all the way out to Ocean East. I don't know what's going on with Troy's property at this point. So to me, this is something I've been waiting for Berlin to look at for a while. We just don't have apartments for younger people to go get a roommate and have a 2-bedroom apartment or whatever it is. That's a nice, newer place that has access to downtown. Now with that, I think, like you said, there has to be that sidewalk in 818. We have the hotel coming in, we have all this. I know people have talked about changing the speed limit on Main Street to 35. I think, I don't know that's part of this, but that should be looked at if we're gonna have all these younger people or whoever just live in these apartments walking on Main Street. That should be really looked at.
How many units is
But, I mean, it makes sense to me. It makes sense. I think it's a need, and I think downtown's, I mean, it's maxed out. You look at what apartment or housing's renting for in some of these older houses, and they're renting for $1,600, $1,700, and they're not nice. I mean, but you can get it because there just is no supply out there right now.
And, you know, it is true that it is easily walkable to downtown. It doesn't look like it because I don't do as much as I used to, but I walk from South Main Street to Shears without any difficulty at all. So if you transport that from downtown Berlin, I'm all the way down to South Main Street by Buckingham. It is very walkable as long as you can get across Old Ocean City Boulevard, as long as there are pedestrian walkways, which certainly there should be.
What is building 18 and 16? The two smaller buildings in the middle, are they, what is that?
Those are one-story garages, and that's just the number of stalls that are inside them. So
So
I
they're
think
for
into
the
the
renters,
160.
right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're for the tenants.
Have you done a residential project before?
Yes, yeah, actually, my wife and I, we've owned several multifamily buildings. We transitioned into self-storage because that's a good business too. So we don't have any multifamily buildings right now, and actually that's one of the reasons. I don't know, Jody, do you want to speak to it about? She and I really have a vision. What we see here is we see this as a starter for people wanting to come, people who want to work in the restaurants, sharing the homes definitely. Maybe the young family. We want the elevator in there because we don't want them to have to carry a stroller up and down.
Are these rental units, you're saying?
These are all going to be rental units, yes, sir. Yeah, yeah, this is not common, these are rental units.
I'll take the opposite view of one of my compadres here. How many EDUs do you need?
That's something we have to determine based on the unit mix and what the formula is with the town, but we pay for every EDU that we need.
Well, I know that. All I've been hearing lately, excuse me, Mark, is Oaks East and how people don't like that kind of development. The people who live here don't like it. This is just another very similar. I understand, you know, you're going to
I
do something
think there's a
different.
lot of differences wrong with that.
As far as density, as far as the structures being huge, and it just seems like what we're doing, and I'm totally against annexation for residential use that the townspeople will end up subsidizing. That's exactly what happens with residential subdivision when it's out of town. We end up subsidizing. So, you know, John, I understand what you're trying to do, but this is just one more step to Berlin becoming Salisbury. That's how I feel.
And
Well, this is
Ron,
what I need to hear, but.
Yeah.
I'm laying it out, John, you know.
No, it's cool. I mean, like I said, we're zone C2, we have sewer capacity on the project. It's going to get developed one way or the other.
I get it.
And the type of uses that you can do in the county, and I mean, this is just, I'm just being honest with you guys, you know how long I've been doing engineering design. The type of uses in the county that can be developed are contractor shops, storage, warehouses, small little retail developments. That's what can be developed on the sewer to support it. So I think this is a neat idea. We're going to have a Victorian feel to the facade, but if you all don't like it, this is when you need to
This is
tell
what
them.
I'm hearing from the people who live here, the
Yeah.
people who we're to represent.
Right.
You know? So I understand how people want to, like, make Berlin, you know, have a piece of the action. I'm not accusing you of anything, because we all do. But at some point, Berlin is not going to be the town that people want to come to anymore. That the people who've lived here for a while, you know, this is getting to be, you know, just a town that, I know people who are ready to move out because of some of the stuff that's going on.
And I understand what you're saying, and the circumstances are, that is land planning. Now, if you don't like residential use in any
No, I
annexation.
love it.
No, in
Right.
any annexation.
Right out of town, right.
Right,
No.
then, but respectfully, again, if we didn't comport with the future land use, then that would be a valid argument, but we're reducing commercial, which, again, 818, I drive it every day to and from my office in Ocean City, and it is a traffic generator. And if we can reduce the traffic generation from all of that commercial use on the east side, which is in the county, as John says, in C2, then I think there's a benefit to it. The land use analysis, and I don't mean this critically, but I'll bet you $1. You were on the planning commission in 2010, no?
Yes,
Okay.
and I probably voted against that too.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah.
I always consider it a singular victory when I get you to vote for me. But anyway, but in the judgment of the planning commission and your consultants in 2010, this was to be a mixed-use residential area of growth.
I get it. I get it. I'm just listening to the people I'm
I
representing.
understand. And I think,
And you know it too.
I
You hear
hope-
it too.
no, I know.
Yeah.
I hope that Mr. and Mrs. Song could accommodate concerns based upon the magnitude of the density that they have in there.
Right.
And no disrespect to Ocean's East, but I've seen John's design strategy, and it's substantially and substantially.
It's the massiveness that people are
Well,
having a hard time.
But don't,
Okay.
please don't blame Ocean's East.
I'm not blaming anybody. That's just what people are talking about. You know, that's what I hear.
I understand.
The people are representing. You know?
Well, you've heard me make the
know.
pitch for the Berlin Fire Company and as to Ocean's East also. So,
Is this a mixed 1, 2, and 3 bedroom project?
Yes,
What's your largest apartment square foot?
3 bedroom, and we'll probably have,
What's the square footage on it?
it's gonna be around 1,500. Yeah, I'm doing this from the pro forma. I didn't bring my pro forma because I'm not here to sell the project. I just want to hear what you guys want. If you want this, because this is a large number of people, but it's close to the center of town. That's the reason why we're doing it. We want proximity, we want connectivity to the center of town. And putting this out somewhere else doesn't seem to make sense. That's why I thought.
How to rent do you propose to get for a 3-bedroom, do you think?
The three bedrooms probably be the market rent, and that's running around 14 to 15 right now.
Do you have any elevations of that?
I have the architect, and he gave me a really pricey proposal. And I'm ready to hire him. Not as pricey as a traffic engineer, I can tell you.
That's the way you did it.
But,
I mean, that's not in the record.
but no, I'm ready to hire the architect.
Because
I have
he
the
is.
architect selected, I have the architect selected already. And, my wife can tell you if she'd like about what we want to do, but we're going to have a Victorian theme on the facade. We're going to stay below the height limit. I haven't talked to David, the fire company, about, his service for that. We are going to have public water. We have fire hydrants and a 10-inch main right in front. It'll be a sprinkler building, obviously. But we'll stay below the height limits. But we're going to do a Victorian facade. We're going to have through-the-wall units, so we're not going to have a lot of units all over the place, not going to be staking little units here and there. So we're going to make it look nice, attractive, because we understand the visibility. And if it doesn't look good, frankly, people aren't going to want to live there.
Who's the architect?
Jeremy Harris Smith, a fellow who I've known for about 15 years right now.
The last planning commission meeting, we had somebody came in here and said something was Victorian. And my head exploded. It just was nothing. So, I mean, we can use words. I'm not, let's be real. When we use terms, let's make them meaningful rather than just, I'm not saying you are.
Ron, my wife and I have looked at over 100 different style facades.
Mhm.
And we know we can incorporate a tasteful amount of brick with other type of Victorian
Right.
Victorian
Yeah.
materials, Victorian-looking materials.
Yeah.
And they got to use hardy plank or something the modern is going to stand up. I took the architect and I drove them to several places. I drove them to several places, and I gave him the Worcester County design guidelines also, what town center looks like, so he would see that. I drove them to several places, in my opinion, I'm not going to tell you where they are, that are not Victorian and are not Berlin.
They're
Okay,
everywhere.
listen.
They're everywhere.
Well, I drove them
And
to
they said
several
they
places
claimed
and then I drove them to several places that I thought were Berlin. And I think he got it. But we'll know when he does the renderings.
Right.
But I'm not ready to cut that check until I hear what you guys really want to do.
Thanks for coming in here now. That was great.
Well, and also, as you know, Ron, you guys will have site plan approval
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. So your site plan review will, yeah.
My dead end is annexation. That's beyond, I can't get beyond that. for residential use. That's
I understand.
that's where I'm.
Mr. Kenny, did I answer your question?
I guess, what does luxury mean to you? I mean, just,
Luxury means you're going to have a little bit larger living room. Definitely it's going to be open plan. It's not going to be a cut-up kitchen. We're going to have the ensuite for the master. So the 3-bedroom would share probably, Jack and Jill will have an ensuite for the master. The 2 bedrooms will probably have a powder entry bathroom and then have a master ensuite, and each one will have a closet. We'll put washer and dryer hookups inside each of the units also.
you're dead set on 4 stories, is it?
You know, we worked on the pro forma to say I'm dead set on it. I'd have to rework the whole thing, and that would definitely change the economics of the project.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I suggest you head in that direction. Because it's, people around on this board are likely not going to go for 4, so.
Are the economics for townhouses not there either?
All I can tell you is I work with a number of developers in Berlin and around Berlin, and the sale prices for the townhomes at the price it costs to build them in the rest of the building just really isn't there. That's evidenced by some of the property that you see over near this area, that the townhomes just can't be built affordably. And I'm not buying homes, I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it.
We don't want you to be.
Exactly. Yeah, townhomes, I had a townhome layout here once, it just doesn't work, it's
Just too expensive per square foot for a rental?
Yeah, numbers don't work.
you know, maybe there'll come a time, I don't know if the market keeps coming up, but it doesn't work. But the multifamily, it's a business we know, and it works really, really well. And frankly, I think there's a need. You're getting more commercial development up here, you're maxed out basically in town. It just seems like a natural extension. I watch 5,000 people a day go past you. Wouldn't you want some of them to live here and not, live somewhere else? That's what I'm thinking. That's all I'm thinking. So, I mean, we're not getting into the tax base and the rating and everything, what it's going to bring to the town. That's something we'll talk about when we get to the annexation with the economic development. Whereas development in the county doesn't help the town's tax base.
Or would you build the whole thing at one time, or would you do one? and the
With
other?
this layout, I have to build both buildings at once. I can't have people living there in that type of disruption. Yeah, I thought about phasing it, and I don't think that's a really good idea.
Did I hear you say you think you got this, you can do this in the county, the same project?
No, sir. No, I never said that.
Oh, I thought you did.
No. I said I can do development in the county.
But it would be commercial.
It would be commercial development that required less sewer. We do have sewer capacity on the site.
When you have EDUs, what, you mean capacity, you mean the pipes?
Meaning we have approved in-ground sewer capacity for on-site septic.
For on-site stuff. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. I thought you were talking about the pipe.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's what,
Okay.
now, it's limited. It's
Right, yeah,
it's
yeah,
limited.
yeah.
It would support developments like contractor shops.
Right.
It would support developments like the storage, warehouses, a limited amount of retail. It wouldn't support a restaurant, and it wouldn't support a large amount of residential use.
So, what we run up against all the time in this kind of stuff is we're going to make a trade here. You need sewer.
Mhm.
Okay? So that's where we start our bargaining. You want something from us, we got to get something from you.
Can it be expanded, like a bigger square footage of the entire thing? So it's not so over top of each other? Because I know, I'm sure everyone has some angst towards that.
Yeah, we have some natural boundaries to this particular property, and one of the boundaries is the property line to the north would be our property boundary. The other boundary towards the south is the power lines. So We can't go into the power line easement, though it will create a 150-foot open space between anything else that can get built ever on the property.
Is that this right here on the right side where you said
Yes,
proposed
sir.
lot one essentially?
Yeah, and half of that 75 feet will be on lot 1, and 75 feet would stay on the remainder, or we could call it lot 2 perhaps. Okay, we have a few environmental constraints which I worked out, and I have the wetland permit already to do this, but we have to stay within those environmental constraints too.
You have no wetlands on the west side of Kids Branch?
I'm sorry?
You have any wetlands, you have no wetlands on the east side of Kids?
Okay,
west side of Kids
so on
Branch.
the proposed lot
West
number
side.
1, we're showing 2 small areas of wetlands that'll be retained. And Ron, I already have the permit for that.
Mhm.
So, okay. On the east side of Kix Branch, there is a ditch, and that had previously been labeled in the JD as a jurisdictional ditch.
Uh-huh.
It might be waters of, I don't know if it's wetlands, it might be waters of, I'd have to ask Edwin that.
Do you have any, well, you can't cross that branch, can you?
A crossing's been put in already.
So you can utilize the east side at some point?
Only if this thing works. I mean, I'm
So
not even thinking
So
about
if
it.
this thing works, you would move east?
I would probably come back to you and talk to you about putting a few more units in the back, yes.
Uh-huh.
But at this point, I would be talking,
Right,
that's not on the table.
Right, that's the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if the thing works.
But that's what I mean, if it works, right.
And I mean, you know me for a long time, I'm a professional engineer, but when I say if it works, I mean, I got a pretty good inkling it's gonna work. I don't deal in guessing.
All right.
And I think this is a good use for this particular piece of property. That's why I proposed it to you. Like I said, I have other options, but I think this is the best use for this property. How do you guys feel about parking reduction? If we had less height in the buildings?
Well, I think if you have a 3-bedroom apartment for that, more than likely you're going to have 3 roommates or, on some of them, not all
So
of them.
so you're pretty firm on wanting the two?
I'll tell you,
two-
that's 3 cars right there.
Okay.
I-
Yeah, so the mix right now is two cars per unit, which works out to basically 1 car per bedroom is what it works out to. So you guys are pretty happy with that?
Yeah, it's pretty
Okay.
reasonable.
People gonna pay a premium for the parking garage?
Parking garage actually, with the cost of the structure and the maintenance of the structure, would add a small amount to the rent. What we normally see is that there's actually usually a waiting list for that.
So is that their, like, official parking spot?
It would be a dedicated parking spot. These aren't carports. This would be a dedicated parking spot.
And it's added into the mix? It's
They,
added
they,
in-
they make that election.
So when you're counting spots, you're
Yes.
counting those parts in that garage?
Correct.
Well, I know, I see a lot of garage doors open and there aren't any cars in there, there's a bunch of stuff. So if that happens, then,
But the person who lives there, who's renting it, his car isn't there because they're at work. I mean, I'm not expecting a whole bunch of other people to come that, except the people that live there. There's plenty of, like I said, it's a 40-60 mix. We could talk about that, it could be a 30.
so how many garages? Just, like, about?
No, I'll tell you exactly, 49.
So what if,
And there's 112.
30 of those people pack, I'm just talking it out, what if 30 of those people pack their garage with all their stuff and we're short 30 spaces?
Yeah, well, there'll be prohibitions against doing that.
Okay, I'm just trying to talk it out.
Yeah, no, that would have to be in the leasing contract.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're basically 49 detached garages. And listen, we can make that number more or less if we want to. I thought that was about the right mix. Because it is a perk that some people want.
Right.
They want to come out and not have to shovel their car off.
Right.
They pay a little bit extra for that perk, but that's their choice. They're not forced to do it. But with 112 other parking spaces everywhere else, I think there's plenty of parking.
I mean, how tall would a 4-story building be? Just
We're going to have to stay on
out
the
of curiosity, and then with the
Well, we're going to have to stay under 45 feet in height, and with the Victoria look, we'll be using a Victorian answer is what we'll be using, but we'll have to stay under 45 feet in height.
What's Ocean's East at? You know that?
Ocean City is.
Ocean's East.
Oh, Ocean City.
I'd have to check, we've got 10-foot ceiling, so it's 3 feet 30 plus the roof line. I think they measure from the peak of the roof to the eave and cut it in half, so probably 40 feet if I'd guess.
Yeah, it's under the limit.
And that's 3 stories out there, isn't it? Or-
3 stories with a
With the-
pitched
yeah,
pitched
pitch.
roof. Yes, sir. You guys are slab on grade?
Yes.
Okay. So they start at grade. So there's no raise, which will start at grade also.
Yeah.
Like I said, to me, it makes sense, but it really only makes sense if we get the sidewalk process rolling in Berlin.
Well, what can we do to do that? Because I've talked to G and talked to some other people. What can we do? The problem is that you don't have the right of way. It's only a 30-foot right of way. Can it be done with a 30-foot right of way? This is a
Need
big
more
one.
experience.
What?
Can it be done with a 30-foot right of way?
Well, that's where a state highway and access
Yeah.
management comes in.
Any chance, Dave,
Any
You're
chance-
gonna-
of getting a sidewalk out there?
By us. It's
By
it's a state highway, so normally they would require you as a developer to put it in, and a bike lane too.
Yeah,
I already said that this property is going to put in a shared use path and the road widening and everything. I'm talking about all the other properties. Is
Oh, how's that happen? No, we have a hard time getting them when they even come into us. I mean, Barrett didn't want to, or the old Barretts didn't want to put a sidewalk in.
Well, this plan already shows a sidewalk and a widening and everything that's required. I had a state highway entrance plan review of this several years ago. We never did go through with it, so I don't have a permit for that. We don't have to get all excited about that. But they did review it, and I know what all the criteria is that we have to do.
I got nothing else to say, except for annexation is where I'm done with
Maybe I can wow you with my footwork, Ron.
it. Start dancing, Jeff.
Last time I had that, a circuit court judge asked me that, I told him I was getting too old for that.
You're never too old.
Okay, well, thank you for your time.
Thanks for coming in, John.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
bud.
Thanks.
Really.
I gave you a copy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ocean's East subdivision, preliminary plat review, that one. Come on up. Adrian.
Look good that way. Feels natural.
So thanks for having us back. We were here in June, talking about the next phase of Ocean's East. And tonight we're here to ask to do the second part of that, which is to re-subdivide the property to accommodate that.
Yeah, so basically this is I won't call it a housekeeping measure, but it's a typical process that involves projects such as this. Projects that require a construction financing mechanism and then oftentimes a swap for permit financing that's attached to the project that is building itself. So what we're doing here is we are reworking the lot lines around Ocean East Phase 1. Now that we know where all the structures have been built, we can dial that into where those structures are. And then we're also dialing in the subdivision lines in accordance with what we're proposing on Phase 2. So we're providing setbacks there as well. This is our first blush at this subdivision. Obviously, when we come back for the final, it'll be locked in stone. But the density requirements, the setback requirements, all of the requirements for the town of Berlin's code is being met through this. I have a density chart on the first one to make sure that we have the proper square footage for the amount of units that are within each lot. So basically, this is creating 2 lots, one to incorporate Ocean's East Phase 1, another one to incorporate Ocean's East Phase 2, and the remainder of the property is just in one large parcel.
Can you move over, Will?
Yes, sir.
You go over there and point out what you're creating, and what's already there.
Yes, sir.
Please.
So this is the existing line right now of Phase 1. We're removing that line and we're reestablishing Phase 1 to here. Phase 2 is here. The remaining lands has road frontage on Mary Road through the woods, and the remainder of parcel 91 is the rest of the property.
Perfect, thank you.
So you're gonna access off of Mary Road, is that?
No, we're gonna come in off the,
Okay,
the existing
okay,
entrance.
okay.
But as you know, that's required for
Right,
building.
right.
Where'd you say the access was, I'm sorry?
Through the main drag.
So the same,
Yeah, same place, okay.
We were pretty strict on all phases of Ocean East to have one access point.
How's your rentals going on one?
Doing well, thank you.
So your new proposal is going to be all townhouses, or is it mixed, or?
It's a mix. I don't have it in front of me. I want to say, was it maybe 25 towns and maybe 130 apartments?
New rentals also?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
What's your average rent out there on those?
We've got a range of, I'd say, probably 1,200 to 1,800. We've got some units that have granite and upgraded amenities inside, and some don't have that.
that would be luxury.
That would be luxury.
Luxury to me, I just,
Come on, get the term.
I just got sheep on my kind of job, I don't know.
Do you know what the townhouse are rented for?
We haven't got those yet, but we haven't built them yet. But my pro forma is called a 3-bedroom apartment, flat, plus the garage. We'll have an integrated garage, and so it'll probably pen out about 1,800 to 1,900.
Are the economics of building these, I asked if we'll be sat there, are the economics of building these townhouses that much harder?
They are more money. You have an integrated garage for one. I want to say I just got some cost figures on it. Maybe it was like from a low 70s a square foot to a mid 80s a square foot from the flat to the town.
So I mean, so you are making, like, I know you charge more, your ROI is a lot lower on these townhouses, but you think you can beat for it?
I think people like a diversity of unit type. You know, at some point, if I have 180 flats in the first phase, people say, well, I want to do something a little bit different. And for some people, that might mean I want a stainless appliance package or the granite. Some people might want to have, 2-story living.
We got a segment for all those units out there, you don't hear any drama out there.
Thank you. We've been really pleased that we had our last building come online in the midst of COVID. Couldn't get our cabinets, they weren't making them. We finally got them in, and now that whole building's full. So people are starting to move around again.
Where are you people coming from?
Very pleased. We got Comcast, we got Piedmont, we've got retail workers, we have teachers. It's a diverse group. I really expected when I was here in 2013 that we would have a lot more seniors from like Ocean Pines and some of the older housing stock, and it's absolutely diverse.
What's your square footage on 3-bedroom?
I got up to 1,700 square feet.
There, I would assume that remaining lands of parcel 91, that's for phase 3 and beyond?
Correct.
At a later time, okay?
Yes.
So we're here tonight just to approve this lot change,
Well, there's no it's a preliminary plat review, so you don't, it's not a, there's no motion to make for approval. It's,
And it is to accommodate the site plan that already got approved, right?
right.
So we-
You already approved the site plan for phase 2.
You don't need a vote on it?
No, because they're gonna come back to you with a
Plat.
plat to record.
Okay.
So the question here is, just like we did several months ago up there at the Sunrise Church property, you had questions with the plat itself as you're looking at it. So if you don't have any objections, you can voice that. If you have any objections, now's the time to tell Mr. Parker here so he can fix it.
Mr. Parker's smarter than I am. A lot of lines and numbers.
This employee allows one.
Mr. Chairman?
Any other questions, anyone? Fine with me. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your time.
Appreciate that.
All right, grab yourself again.
Thank you.
All right, yeah, did you have something for us on Franklin Avenue or any of the?
Oh, several of you are aware, we talked about a couple meetings, Franklin Avenue, that half-done house. We sent them a violation letter Tuesday. The code says I have to wait 20 days to prosecute the violation. And the next step, as I addressed it in the letter, was to say that 20 days is September 2nd. And that's when a fine of $100 a day and $200 a day for each subsequent day that the violation continues, that's when it will start. And that is to remove the items on the property, even though they are building materials. Building materials are defined in our town code, section 6-53. They are also defined as junk, just like if it was trash or refuse. Doesn't matter how neatly they're stacked, doesn't matter how usable they are, they're there for an extended period, they are junk. So they need to be removed. So that's what the violation I cited him for.
Are there still violations on William Street for him?
No violations, but the house sits uncompleted. It's weather tight. It's weather tight, so he's in compliance. He keeps the grass cut.
Is that?
But the house just sits uncompleted.
Is that where the work permit was? Is that the one he renewed it on? Is that one or the?
I'm sorry?
Is that the one that he renewed the work?
No, Franklin Avenue is what he got the.
You got the 1 year, and that's up already, or is it?
No, that was, he applied for it in February, and he got the permit this June. He finally got the permit, but he didn't pick it up.
A permit for what?
He got another permit to finish the house at 205 Franklin.
You were say, how many
When's the last time
permit renewals has he had?
When's the last time it worked?
It wasn't a renewal, I made him start over.
Yeah, okay.
There's never been any work done on it in how long?
That original permit was, I'm gonna guess, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
say 2009.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing's happened there, right?
No.
Nothing's gonna happen, right?
But that's good.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a foundation there that was inspected by the, under the previous permit.
So the.
But so it would have to be re-inspected to make sure it's to code.
So he got a permit to finish the house?
Yes.
Okay.
That was
You don't-
started by a previous owner.
You don't expect any of that to occur, do you?
Not at this point.
Okay.
Don't you know it's a good thing?
No,
We're just waiting for the permit to
We gave
expire,
him-
is what we're waiting for, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, he got enough, rope.
Okay.
It was a good faith effort on your part to
I
give
tried.
just one more last chance.
I tried, so, maybe too long, so, we'll see how he reacts. I don't expect it to change.
Yeah.
And you know what happens then? I have to write a civil citation, basically. It's like one of the police officers writing a ticket. And then I have to take it to the district court down in Snow Hill and file it. So that'll be, then he either has to pay the fines or appear in court and defend why he shouldn't pay the fines. So,
Are you going to give him any leeway, or is it up to you if he decides on the 1st of September to move 3 boards away? Like he's showing an effort to clear it off, is there a grace period, or is his grace period all used up, or? You know what I mean? It's at your discretion.
it is at my discretion, but I would
I'm
prefer
just
not
curious.
to. I would prefer not to do that.
Okay.
20 days is.
Well, I'm just going by the past.
It's 20 days from the writing, so he'll have, you know, the mail is like it always is here in Berlin, he'll have 18 out of those 20 days to load trailers. So I would assume he has the letter now, but if he's in town, I don't know. He does travel for work some. What else?
Anybody?
What you deny my will?
We're done. Go ahead.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? You're on your own.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
What, is that the table way over the TV?
You're still on, watch yourself.
Get used to it.
She's about to take it over.
These monsters, right?